Welcome back to another episode of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. Today, we are not in Queen Park. We're not in the Better Than Trees building. They decided to shut it down for the Christmas break. But we are here at 631 here in Ambridge. And today we have a special guest. But first, before I introduce the guest, I do want to ask Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's New Year's Eve. Starting off 2023 right, with you, of course, of all people. So, excited to be back in the fold of things.
Yeah, and here's our guest right here today. Diehard Mets fan and big NBA fan. He has a LaMelo jersey on right now. We're not doing video today. You can't see it. But it's Gabriel Roman.
Hello. Yes. One applause from one person. Right, sitting right here. Two people.
Two people,
yeah.
Applaud yourself. Let's get into
three people.
Yeah.
This is actually the first NBA jersey I ever gotten myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was deciding. So Luka's my favorite player, and so I was like, I'm gonna get a Luka jersey because he's just really good. And then the Dallas Mavericks just have one of the worst kits as far as jerseys in the whole NBA. And so I was like, I can't rock that nasty blue and white. It just doesn't look good. So I got LaMelo because the Hornets have the best looking jersey kits.
They do.
Out of the whole NBA.
No, they're definitely solid.
And I think even before they went with those, even when they had Kemba Walker, those uniforms that they had, like even the purple ones were pretty nice as well.
No, they were.
Yeah, they're definitely an upgrade over the Charlotte Bobcats uniforms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bring
the Bobcats back.
Bring the Bobcats.
Oh, my.
Just put them in a different state,
Pittsburgh, bro.
Speaking of, put them in a different
McRoberts.
state.
Yeah, I mean Josh McRoberts, Brendan Haywood.
Michael K. Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
This is my opening rant. We're in Pittsburgh, the city of champions. Right, the Penguins had a good year, good decade as far as getting the Stanley Cups. Steelers have been rough this season, but they were pretty good throughout the whole decade. Pirates, we don't really talk about them. They haven't been doing too well. But even the Riverhounds were in the finals not too long ago.
Yeah.
Forget Las Vegas. Forget Seattle. Forget Mexico City. The NBA needs to come to Pittsburgh, the city of champions. So we need an NBA team in Pittsburgh.
I mean, that can be a topic.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. So I want to add to that. PPG Paints Arena. This you can call it a hot take. I don't care what you guys say. I watched a basketball game in PPG Paints Arena, and I will say that venue is easier to watch a basketball game than in Quicken Loans Arena, which is now Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. That is one of the nicest places to watch a basketball game, whether it is, I know Duquesne doesn't play Pitt there anymore, but one of those games. I mean, I was there in 2018 and 2022. That is a good basketball venue. Harlem Globetrotters go there every single year as well. And another thing, too, is people are like, fans, they're not going to go to the games. Here's the thing. They were saying that about hockey, too, in 1967 with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Look at their attendance numbers back in the day. And then as soon as they get Mario Lemieux, they shoot up. All they need to do is just get one of those players, and all of a sudden, people will start showing up to the games as long as they start doing good. Not all teams are going to do bad forever unless you're the Sacramento Kings. Remember that.
Mm.
Okay, so here's where I'm with that. So I agree with... I think Pittsburgh should have a team, but I think the part of the issue, it's the economic thing. So Pittsburgh, if you look at the population, we're pretty lucky to have 3 teams.
It's not big.
It's not. It's like 300. No, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
We're roughly a little bit over 300,000 people in the city. Metro, outside of Pittsburgh, it's a whole different story. But just as far as in city, you have that to contend with. Supporting 3 teams is difficult. Imagine supporting the Penguins, Pirates, and whoever NBA teams in Pittsburgh. That's kind of tough. And just as far as traffic goes, that'd also be rough. The logistics, obviously, PPG is a basketball arena if need be. We've had the tournament and the Globetrotters, like you said. But personally, I'd love a team to be here. But I'm thinking realistically, NBA, I think it's a little different in my opinion as far as trying to build a fan base. Pittsburgh, they've had multiple basketball teams in the past that have not really panned out as far as attendance-wise goes. And I don't know. Obviously, if you get one of those, big-time studs in the draft, I think that would help. And, of course, winning is, the biggest cure to all, fan bases. People will show up. I will give you that. But I don't know. I just don't generally know because expansion teams always, for the most part, unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights, start out pretty awful.
I do want to add something about that, though. The Vegas for Vegas, I was looking at attendance numbers. They're number 1 in the whole entire league for the NHL right now.
Because they're so new and they're good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they're actually good this year.
I mean, they have Jack Eichel. I mean, when healthy, you have Max Pacioretty, you have Connor Stevenson. I mean, their team's stacked this year. And, I mean, I don't want to call them they could make a run at something this year. But my point is, like, for the Vegas Raiders, too, I mean, fans are showing up to their games as well. I mean, I think that there might be a team in Vegas for basketball before Pittsburgh because, A, their population doubles Pittsburgh, and B, they've already proven that even though Vegas was an expansion team, and even though the Raiders just moved here, they're still going to be able to fill the stadium.
I feel bad for Oakland.
Yeah.
You had the Raiders get up onto there. You had the Warriors go to San Francisco.
The A's are trying to leave too.
The A's are leaving?
Yeah.
Like, you had all these major teams, and now you got nothing but that old stadium.
I mean,
those crusty A's out there.
Not to go off topic, but that stadium's really bad.
Is it the oldest one?
No, it's the Red Sox or Cubs. No, the Cubs have the oldest
Cubs, yeah,
one.
it's like over 100 years old. It might be Fenway though. Is it?
It's Fenway or
it's either Fenway or
Chicago.
Wrigley. Yeah.
I want to say Chicago.
I want to hit both of those before they tear it down.
Oh, definitely. But like, as far as stadiums in all of sports, though that one in Oakland, the O.CO Coliseum, whatever they call that, that's the worst in all sports. I've never been there.
I don't know that, but like they only allot 55,000 seats.
No.
Well, it's an 80,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, like, not even a star team is gonna fill 55,000 seats. Yet alone the Oakland A's, who just traded away Sean Murphy.
Shoot, even when the A's were good, they still struggled now as far as attendance, but they could barely crack 30,000 for a home game. Like, that's, so.
Well, we're sitting here talking about attendance in the Pirates.
Well, listen,
that's and you're like, is anyone else here?
Yeah,
see, there's a good reason for that though. Like when you
we suck. That's the good reason.
Yes, but like the 3 playoff teams, people showed up every year. Attendance went up those 3 years.
Yeah,
so you can't.
They sold out in how many straight games?
I mean, seriously.
And Bob Nutting said, before I let you pass it back to you, Bob Nutting said, if people show up, we're gonna put a good team on the field, and now it just wasn't the case. But
okay,
go ahead.
So you mentioned we talk about like off the podcast, the Yankee series.
Yeah.
Those games,
they were sold out.
Those were their 2 high. And listen, I know it's the Yankees, but like the fact remains, people will still show up. People showed up on opening day this year.
Yeah.
So like I know people don't like Bob Nutting, and for good reason. Listen, he's done really nothing to earn the goodwill consistently of the Pirates fans. And I will say this, out of every fan base in Pittsburgh, I think Pirates fans are the most rational, and they're not. But you can't call.
Because we haven't won in so long.
Yes, and like I see people on Twitter, some random clown dude in the media with Pirates fans are so spoiled. What is there to be spoiled about? At least with
the price of the cheap tickets.
Yeah, the Penguins have won 2 cups within the past decade. The Steelers, well, they haven't won a Super Bowl in like 13 years. I mean, they've still been in the playoff hunt pretty much every year. So, like, Pirates fans, we've had nothing really outside of those 3 wild card teams to be very happy about. So that's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing: since the Steelers won in the '70s, though, Pittsburgh Penguins hockey, as soon as they got Mario Lemieux, has been the best sport franchise.
In Pittsburgh?
I mean, yeah, if you like
5 cups since 1990, you can't beat it.
I mean, they were pretty good. I mean, if you take out like 2001 to about 2005, 2006, the Penguins have been pretty much a consistent fixture in the playoff race too. So
they've made every year since '06.
So let's say all the cards align, and Pittsburgh somehow gets an NBA franchise in its city. Do they stick with the classic black and gold colorway? And what is the name of the team?
Name of the team. That's,
I say Pittsburgh Power, but that's a football team.
Is that the women's football team?
It was the arena football team.
I think they're Pittsburgh Passion.
They're the Passion now?
Yeah, I think they're Passion.
That's the female team.
The Arena Football League was Pittsburgh Power.
And they had Bill Stahl one year, former Pitt quarterback.
Gosh. Anyways, Bill Stahl. I actually went to a couple games, Pittsburgh Power games.
I do want to say one thing about the Pirates before we move on to this, though. That 2015 team, if there's no wild card game, they have a chance to win the World Series.
Oh, if you stack them up,
that team was
them
not
against
worse
the
than
Royals. They would wipe the board as far as offense, pitching, bullpen. They would wipe the board with the Royals. I don't care what anyone says.
They just had to face
All
the
these
best
what
pitcher in
ifs.
baseball.
All these
Jake
what ifs.
Arrieta.
I mean,
know.
listen, the Pirates. I mean,
New
for
playoff format, I think they won the World Series.
Well, listen, the Mets should have had 7 World Series by now.
oh my gosh.
all these
I mean,
what
just I don't want to spend too much on the Pirates, but like just like
we
the
spent a
luck.
ton of time on the
Oh, we
Pirates.
do. Just this is their luck. If you take 2014, face Madison Bumgarner, hardest pitcher on the planet at the time, ended up winning the World Series with the Giants that year. 2015, the Cubs break out of their little rebuild. Jake Arrieta at the time was arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. Ride that to the NLCS. So the Pirates, I mean, they were dealt a bad hand, in all
The
fairness.
Cubs
All I
beat the
hear-
Dodgers that year.
They did.
All
Yeah.
I hear are excuses.
Listen,
Just excuses.
it's the Pirates' luck, man. It's
It
just how
is.
it goes.
It's the Pirates are just
wasn't
not
meant to
my
be.
team.
Listen, I'm a Mets fan. I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
that is true. You do know you are speaking from experience.
The Mets made the World Series that year.
And we lost, so.
2015.
Well,
yeah.
listen, that's a lot more recent than what we could say. At least you've made a World Series.
Yeah. No,
This
this year.
century.
This year.
This
We're
year?
gonna get
No,
a ring.
the guys you've made, the moves you've made with the not DeGrom, but Verlander,
Justin Verlander.
you know,
Jose Quintana.
Carlos Correa. If you
Hopefully.
hopefully Carlos Correa. But listen, like you
Well, he
have
has
Lindor, Starling
repairs
Marte,
late.
Pete
Because
Alonso.
we got that owner with deep pockets.
He
You
does.
know,
I wish
Very deep
we had
pockets.
Steve Cohen. Maybe we'd be good right now, but you know,
Listen, early, probably 2000s, all the Mets fans were like, the Yankees, they're buying the World Series. Now I'm like, it feels kind of good.
Yeah,
It
listen,
feels kind of good.
I wish we had something like that too. That was at least spend a little money.
Hey, the Mets have been just as successful as the Yankees since 2009.
Oh well,
Like,
Yankees.
they made a World Series in 2015 and
Yeah.
made the playoffs last year. Joe Musgrove though may have shut them down a little bit,
Yeah.
but I mean, they at least are consistently gonna be in the playoff push, barring injuries.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
another former Pirate that we just let go for really not much of value, anything worth return. But that's a whole other issue.
All right, this is basketball. Let's talk about
Yeah,
basketball.
let's
We're talking about
You want to go
baseball
back to the Pittsburgh team?
Yeah, what would we name it?
Well, one, do they stay with the black and gold colorway? Match
Yeah,
the
you have
SEC?
to.
You
If
think so?
everyone else is doing it, you have to stick with that.
Alright.
As far as team name, though, yeah, that's tough.
If Indiana moved to Pittsburgh, I always thought Pittsburgh Pacers would be a cool name.
Pittsburgh Pacers.
I feel like it's got to be something that correlates with the history of the city.
See, I've heard Pittsburgh Iron Man before, but that sounds kind of corny to me, Iron Man.
Yeah.
See, we're here,
Too
but
close
you know,
to Marvel.
what's it called though? Steel Valley's team name is the Ironmen, and I think the Steel Valley Ironmen. I think that rolls off the tongue pretty.
See,
nicely.
I'd say Pittsburgh Panthers, but that's college, bro.
Mhm.
We already have that in college. But I don't know. What would you think? What do you think? Do you have any other names?
Oh well, he said stuff in Pittsburgh. Since we're in Ambridge, there's the Ambridge Bridgers. How about the
There's a bunch of bridges. I think
Pittsburgh Bridgers?
Yeah, that flows pretty well. Pittsburgh had the most bridges out of any city in the world until about a couple years when some town in Russia built another bridge or something.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
gotta build
And
more
more than
bridges.
Venice, more than anywhere
Which
else.
is literally on water.
Yeah, which is on
We have to
water.
build more bridges. That's the
We do.
solution.
The Pittsburgh Bridges kind of
yeah.
sounds pretty good.
No, but I'm trying to think like with the city, obviously steel, iron, like that kind of stuff. That kind of bridges like correlates. But I
Very,
just
very blue collar.
You can
Yeah.
also go back to the ABA though. You can just go Pittsburgh Pipers.
Pipers. No, I don't like
Half
that.
hours. That's
It just sounds weird. The Pipers. I don't know.
Pittsburgh Union.
Yep, the Pittsburgh. Yeah, the Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh. I can't think of one.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. Watch, we'll leave, and I'll have something come up in my head. That's how it usually goes, though.
So it's all a dream. It's all a dream.
Right.
Hopefully one day.
No, listen,
The Pittsburgh Knights wouldn't be bad.
Knights is out of everything we mentioned. The Knights is definitely the best name. But
Mhm.
like,
And do like the
Oh.
black and Vegas gold.
yeah, I do think
It's
Seattle,
probably Vegas.
and Vegas, maybe even Nashville, because Nashville's kind of a booming city nowadays. I think those teams they have more of a legit shot to get a team now.
I mean, Adam Silver was talking about Mexico City, about doing
Mexico
more,
City, okay.
more international. I mean, you already have a couple of teams in. We have one team in Canada,
yeah,
but they just played a game down in Mexico City. Didn't
Yeah.
they? A couple days or a couple weeks ago.
they probably did.
So
But like there is a market for an NBA in Pittsburgh because it's been. If you look on go online and say, oh, teams that should get a city, Pittsburgh's always mentioned. So there definitely there's a market there. It's just like I don't know if it's I think there's gonna be problems with it. I think it would be very problematic though. But listen, if they were to pull it off, I mean, I wouldn't be complaining.
hey, any relocation has its problems, you know.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, could be Oakland.
All right, why don't we get into some topics here? Do you have anything you want to start off
Yeah.
with?
So let's talk about the Luka game first off.
Well, I mean,
you know which game I'm talking about.
What is there to say? He was ridiculous. I mean, it's just another, it's a cool 60 points. What do you have, like 20 rebounds or something like that?
21.
21 and
What do you have,
10.
like 10 assists?
Yeah.
Listen,
First ever in history.
He's the top 3 player right now. I mean, you can't argue any lower than top 5. Hell, if you even argued the best player in the NBA, I wouldn't even disagree with you. Like, he's just that good.
He's averaging 34, 9, and 9.
Listen, he's in the MVP conversation, and this year might be the year he actually wins it. But like, side note, me and you've talked about this before about the whole Trae Young, Luka Doncic trade. And people still on Twitter, it's an even trade. No, it's not.
No,
not anymore. First 2 years it was.
Luka Doncic has a potential. He's looking like a generational player, generational talent.
Bagley.
I mean, even the Phoenix
Trae.
Suns.
And you got Luka sitting there.
Listen,
looking back, it just
even the Phoenix Suns. I'm not letting you off the hook either. I mean, DeAndre Ayton's a good player, but he's not even in the same stratosphere as Luka.
No.
And then Trae Young, once again, he's a great player in his own right. He's an all-star player. I'm not going to disrespect him like that, but like Luka Doncic, bro, he's clearing away the best player from that draft, and he's already. Shoot, if he retired now, he'd probably be a Hall of Famer. And I know you didn't.
Right now, no.
I think he would.
No,
he's played 5 years?
Who, Luka?
Yeah.
I think he needs to win the MVP, but I think he'll win it this
He's
year.
got no hardware.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Well,
have
I mean, just like I would still vote him in the Hall of Fame if I had a vote. But like, that's my opinion.
Here's the thing. I think if you give him 3 to 4 more years of what he's doing right now, then.
Well, of course, even then, I think that's a no-brainer. But that's just me, though. But like, I do think. Listen, he's obviously going to win some more work, at least a championship. I do think he'll get an MVP. He already has the all NBA, things locked up. Yeah. So
I do want to add something with Luka though. Like, I think teams should have learned from Kristaps Porzingis, who averaged 18 points in the EuroLeague. Luka Doncic was just as good in the EuroLeague, and at the age of 16 years old, he was on a national team at the age of 16 years old. So, I mean, I think the team just need to learn that the EuroLeague's not a joke. I mean, you see players like Nikola Jokic going off. You got players, Kristaps Porzingis, I know he's hurt constantly. His bones are made out of glass. But when he does play, he's one of the best power forward / centers in the league. And then you also have Luka Doncic, who right now, I think he's clear-cut MVP. So
3 of the best players in the league right now are all Euro guys.
Yeah.
Jokic, Antetokounmpo, and then Luka. And even Embiid is overseas, right?
Yeah, he's not American.
Yeah.
No.
He's not
He
American.
played
He's
for
Nigerian,
Kansas
I think.
technically, but he was from I believe Cameroon.
Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a whole other thing, though. That's just like
I think so.
the
Yeah.
stigmatism of like foreign players. Oh, they're all bust. Like that's
No.
you have to stay away from that. Honestly.
International is here, and they're here to stay.
They are.
That Luka game. Oh, he's looking up. Yeah, Cameroonian.
Just wanted to make sure. I was right. I don't want to
Put some respect on his name.
Oh, man.
So that Luka game where he dropped 60, 21, and 10, that is a sentimental game for me because my wife, she's not athletic by any means. I love her. She's amazing, but grew up more artsy than athletic. You can be both, but she wasn't. And so this year she's been getting into basketball.
Okay,
she's been
sweet.
watching games with me. She's been listening to me ramble and all this stuff. And so during that game, I was visiting my family out of state, and we were laying in bed together watching it on my iPad. And she's like, "Yeah, let's watch the game together." First time, amazing. So we're watching Dallas play the Knicks, and Luka's just going off, and I'm getting into it. But more so, my wife is even more getting into it than I am. And so that game is one that I remember as the first time my wife actually really engaged with the game, and it was one of the most historic performances ever. So, Luka, yeah, I'm gonna remember that.
I do want to add though too. You weren't at it, but like at a college career the other night, we did the White Elephant Exchange.
Yeah.
And Emily
Yeah.
picked up the bobblehead I had, the sports bobblehead, and she literally was like holding it up to make sure it got traded. So the whole sad family isn't huge on sports. David literally had me draft his fantasy football team, which we went 12-2 by the way. But yeah, what I'm saying is Luka's such a good player that a family that doesn't follow sports will now follow sports.
Yeah. So generational.
Well, listen, I
I'm
think
just saying because I'm a second source who knows the family. So
fair enough. I think what people forget to mention about that game too is that they were down 10 points with 30 seconds left.
Nine.
It was
9
like
30 seconds.
Yeah, it was like an improbable comeback, and he had he got fouled and he missed that second free throw intentionally, and to tie it up and make the shot.
That was crazy. As you're falling away with the rebound and the shot, amazing.
It definitely was. And honestly, at this point, I've run out of adjectives to describe Luka. I mean, it is what it is. He's a great player. I mean, enough said. Unless you guys have anything else.
He's honestly almost as good as freaking Korkmaz.
Almost.
No, that's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty comparable as far as talent goes.
I do want to add though. My brother and I had a conversation, and it was like Larry Bird, obviously career-wise, has the hardware, is obviously better than Luka right now, and honestly, you can make the case that he's probably could be better than LeBron as well. I'm not gonna just flat out say that, but if you look at prime for prime, Larry Bird was the best player before Jordan got there.
So there's an argument to be made.
Mm-hmm. But that's not
Braun dropping 47 on his birthday.
That was
that was nice.
47, 10 and 9.
I do want to go back to that, but I just wanted to ask you guys. So my question to my brothers were, can Luka Doncic get to the same point where Larry Bird was? Because I think if you look at the 5th season of Larry Bird's career, which he played college, which he was older coming in. He won his first MVP in his 5th year. If Luka Doncic wins MVP this year, do you guys think that he can have a similar career or be like a top 10 player like where Larry Bird is?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to project. I know I was singing his praise 10 minutes ago. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. That's not the issue in question. The thing is, where is he going to rank all the time? And that's the interesting thing, because you'll have LeBron, you'll have KD, you probably have Steph too in there. So I don't know. They have the hardware. Luka, I think he'll get at least 2 MVPs. I'll say he'll win at least 1 championship. But the key is you have to give him another All-Star. I like the pieces they have now, like Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood. Those are solid pieces. Don't get me wrong, but they're not great players. And I just think Porzingis too. That was their attempt to have a second star, quote unquote. But he got injured and he clearly wasn't the same player. So I don't know. Just give him an All-Star. I think
he's doing well in Washington right now, though. Porzingis.
He is.
He's finally healthy.
But I think
nice. Yeah, I like Porzingis.
Give him a Donovan Mitchell kind of player, or even an Evan Mobley. I know he's still with the Cavs, but someone like that, even Anthony Davis, if he didn't want to be a Laker, someone like that, I think that could push him over the edge. Because they made the conference finals last year.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he beat the Suns. Him and Brunson beat the Suns by themselves.
That's part of the thing.
Piece.
Is that here's the danger: if the Mavs don't make a move in the next year or two, Luka is very likely going to walk and join a team that probably will put him in better contention.
See, if you're down, you cannot let him walk. You have to do everything in your power to keep him. Because guys like that, you can say, "Oh, we're in a tank for X, Y, and Z," but Luka's a known commodity now. Guys like that, you have to keep him. He's only 23 years old.
Yeah, he's sub 25. They have to be in a win now mindset. They have a couple picks that they don't have access to because of that Porzingis trade.
Okay.
And so you're kind of limited with your resources, but if you're the GM there, you gotta think of something to make like you said. You just need one more piece.
Yeah.
You lost Brunson, so Luka's usage is through the roof right now. You just need that 1, maybe 2 more just minor upgrades to keep you. That way, Luka dropped to 60. He's like, I'm tired as hell. I need me a beer.
Yeah.
He needs someone to take some of that usage off of him, another ball handler, or someone that could be an offensive threat that Luka can take a couple minutes and sit down.
I think part of the thing is too, you need someone that can consistently create their own shots, because every time I watch a Mavericks game, Luka always has the ball in his hands. Every time. Yeah. It's pretty much the entire game. It's kind of ridiculous.
What's even crazier, though, is he's shooting over 50% from the field, taking 23 shots a game.
No, yeah.
Which is unheard of. And his EFG is at 57%.
It's comparable to that when Harden won MVP. His usage was through the roof. And he was doing everything for that team.
Side note, so you mentioned James Harden. So when he was in Houston, 2016, about 2018, when he was absolutely at his peak, people were talking about on Twitter too. It's another topic of debate about how NBA fans didn't appreciate what he was doing at the time. Do you agree with that statement, or do you disagree?
I went to, it was December of 2019. I think it was December 11th or December 14th around that time. I went to see the Rockets versus the Cavs when they had Russell Westbrook and James Harden. It was a day where he had 3 straight 50-point games.
Yeah, there was a point, yeah.
He dropped 55 points. And this is coming from someone who watched Kobe in person when he was when I was 12 years old. I saw Kobe drop 42. Kyrie Irving, second year in the league. That was the second best game I ever saw was Kobe's. The best game I ever saw in person. And I agree. People don't really appreciate what Harden did that year. He averaged, 35, 36 a game?
I mean, that was like that first season.
That's
that was
unheard
pretty
of.
much, yeah.
And just watching him score 55 in a close game where the Cavs had a chance to win that game. Kevin Porter Jr. for the Cavs had a lights-out game that day, which was his rookie season. That was the best performance I've ever seen in person, that James Harden game. 55 points. I definitely agree. That MVP season was something else.
I mean, I'm pulling up the numbers right now. Give me a sec. So, like, in his prime, okay, so 2017, 2018, he averaged 30 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. 2018, 2019, he averaged 36.1 points a game.
That's the year I saw him.
And then the year after, the COVID year where the season was shortened, he still averaged 34 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, listen, like we're talking all-time greatest scorers. I think Harden, I don't think he's top 5. I think he's top 10. Like, when he's right...
Strictly scorers or of all time?
Like, scores.
Okay,
I would say he's top 10. I would honestly... I can make the argument, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Harden's one of the best one-on-one players that has ever played the game of basketball, especially in the NBA.
And the thing is, too, like, I don't know, he didn't really do it, but if he could have averaged a triple-double if he really wanted to, because I think it was 20... It might have been the year before. He was close to averaging a triple-double for the season. And that was before, like, Westbrook really took off, like, with the Thunder as far as averaging triple-doubles, too. So.
I do want to go back to that, though. Look at Luka now, though. You read his numbers off, 36, 8, and 5. Luka's averaging 34, 9, and 9 right now. In the past 3 seasons, other than his rookie year, he was averaging 29, 9, and 9 around, roughly.
Hey, man, get that boy some help. He's going to get... It's not sustainable. He's going to get tired. It's going to slow down. They need another ball handler.
And here's another hot take. Before LeBron left, that team he had in 09-10, his supporting cast, I think, is better than the Dallas Mavericks supporting cast right now.
I'm trying to think.
Because you had Mo Williams averaging 18 points a game for you.
Yeah.
Anderson Varejão was a walking double-double. You had Zydrunas Ilgauskas still. I'm pretty sure they got Antoine Jameson.
Well, so no, they traded
Mo Williams for.
No, they traded Zolgauskas for Antoine Jameson,
which was
who was giving you 18 points a game too. And then you had Shaq too. You know, it wasn't the same.
He was out of prime.
He gave you like 12 points, like maybe 10 rebounds.
Well, Shaq was there to sell tickets.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true too. But like, I mean, they had talent. I would say, I think that it's kind of overblown. Like, LeBron had no help in Cleveland. I think it's a little exaggerated, but like. The finals run he made in 07, he had no help offensively. Defensively, the guys he was with, they were really good, but they just couldn't create shots, and it was him. He was pretty much tasked with like the offense, LeBron.
I will say though, even then though, I think Zydrunas Ilgauskas had a really solid year that year, and Larry Hughes averaged like 17 in a game that year. So I think even then, if you compare the supporting cast with the Mavericks compared to that. Like, if you're telling me who would you rather have, Larry Hughes and Zydrunas Ilgauskas in your front court compared to like Dwight Powell and Christian Wood, I think I might go with the Cavs.
I think they're kind of comparable. It's just one of those things. I would have to
You really have to dive.
You have to have like a roster like on a whiteboard and compare like careers. I think you have to do that.
The Mavs, when it comes to it, the Mavs have shooters around Luka. The thing is, when they're on and they're hitting their shots, the Mavs are. It's hard to beat them.
Oh, yeah, we saw last in the playoffs. Yeah.
But when they're off and they're not hitting their shots, they're hard to watch. They're hard to watch. Mm-hmm. But they need somebody, like Brunson was great for them last year.
Yeah.
With another ball handler, Luka can take a couple minutes to rest, and Brunson can run that second unit, or even in the first unit, he can take some of that usage off of him. They need someone like that. You're letting Brunson walk in free agency. Like, you needed to pay the guy.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake. Looking back, that was probably a mistake. But.
And their two guard right now, Reggie Bullock, which I think he's a great shooter, but there's some games where he'll just go out there and go 1 of 10 from the field.
My wife calls him breadsticks because of the dreads.
Yeah,
Breadsticks.
As we were watching the game, she'll just come up with nicknames for all the players. So he's breadsticks. The Olive Garden breadsticks on his head. But it's the same thing with Tim Hardaway. Like they have a bunch of shooters, and when they get streaky, they get hot, and then they get cold.
Yeah.
They get hot, they get cold.
You know, Tim Hardaway, that's funny because like in 2017-18, I saw the Knicks beat the Cavs, and Tim Hardaway had the best game of his career, scoring 37 points.
Okay, 37.
Yeah, and it was when they had it was when the Cavs first year without Kyrie.
Oh, okay, so that was LeBron's last year.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Tim Hardaway is one of those players that he's rather gonna give you 20 to 30 points, or he's gonna give you 5 to 10.
Well, I
points.
mean, like you said, that's pretty much the whole team. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie too. Christmas Day, like 26, him and Hardaway against the Lakers. I remember that. But like once again, Spencer Dinwiddie was really good in Brooklyn. But like it just seems like with the Mavs, it's like he'll go 8 of 13 with like 25 points, and then he'll go 1 of 15. Like it's just like he was saying, it's just one of those things.
I like Dinwiddie.
No, I think he's a
whenever
good player.
Kyrie was down in Brooklyn, I mean, he was averaging over 20 points a game.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
he obviously went down before the year ended when Kyrie came back. But
Shoot.
Yeah. So you guys said, Luka, he's definitely in the MVP contention. Right now, who is your MVP? And then give me your top 3.
Well, I mean, I think I would probably vote Luka MVP right now, but as far as top 3, I mean, you have to throw Jokic in there. He's having another historic season as far as advanced stats goes, and then Giannis. I mean, my gosh, dude, I think Giannis. I would probably say
make a case
Giannis.
for him over Luka. I think Luka is better. I was looking at the numbers. Luka's having a better overall year, but Giannis.
I mean, it's all a toss up. I would even argue Embiid too. Joel Embiid, he's having another great year. I think he's having a better year this year. He was last year, and I thought last year if Jokic didn't go off, I thought Embiid was a clear cut MVP. But I would say Luka, not in any particular order. I don't want to do that, but Luka, I'll go Jokic, Embiid, and I think Giannis the top 4 in my candidates.
No Tatum.
Oh man,
No Tatum.
I have to have Tatum in there too. He's in the mix. I can't deny him.
all 5 of those players in the mix, but to Jokic's point, Denver Nuggets are first place in the West right now.
Yeah, that is true.
But for my list,
But Boston's first place too.
Yeah,
East,
so
there's that.
But this man left Tatum off his list.
I didn't mean to. It's just I forgot.
You know what, Justin? You can get out.
I hate Jason Tatum. I think he's terrible.
Dude, I'm gonna clip that, just one little part.
Go for it. Take out of context.
Yeah, cancel culture for podcast. You'll be done for.
Oh gosh.
No more sports podcasting. But back to my list. You said to narrow it down to 3. And for me, just because he's averaging 34 points a game, obviously got to go with Joel Embiid's there. And then you got to go with Giannis because he's averaging 33 and 12. But my first place is still Luka Doncic. Never seen a game like 60, 21, and 10. Literally, they're on a 5-game win streak right now. The Mavericks are no longer in the play-in spot. They're actually in the playoffs. Listen, if they can just make the playoffs outright and he continues to average 34, 9, and 9, which I think he's able to because he's having these games that are anomalies. And so, yeah, give me Luka Doncic as my MVP this year.
I think this speaks to just how good of an NBA season it is this year, that so many people are doing so well and the playoff races are so tight in both the East and the West. Now this is one of the best NBA seasons in the last 5 years. So it's hard to narrow down the MVP race to even 5 or 3 people, because if everyone's healthy, you can also throw Curry and AD in that MVP.
I'd even argue Kevin Durant too.
Yeah, KD is having a great season. Like the way that the Nets were able to turn around their really, really rocky start.
You're being nice. Rocky.
Yeah, I mean they're probably the hottest team in basketball right now.
Oh, they're on fire.
So it's hard to narrow down the MVP contention to even 5 people. So it's been a great season. But Luka, listen, is my favorite player, period, in the game. But I don't know if I would pick him as my MVP strictly because of where they rank in the playoff contention. I think if they can get in the top 4, I want him to win it. I don't think he'll win it right now, but I want him to win it. Jokic is having a great season. I don't know if there'll be some like voter fatigue there if they want to give to. I mean, to win 3 back-to-back MVPs.
I don't think they'll
without,
they won't do it this year.
Without any rings, without
Yeah,
like he's having a great season. I mean, Giannis is having a great season. I think right now, if it was like they were just gonna vote, I think it would be Tatum would win it, and then I think it'd be Giannis, and then Embiid. Hot take: Embiid is a fantastic player. I don't think he'll ever win a championship in Philly.
No,
I just don't think Philly. I think Philly is one of those teams similar to my Nets, unfortunately, that they're always in the race and they never get it done.
No, I understand what you're saying. I don't really think that's much of a hot take. I mean, listen, Harden. That's another thing. They're talking about Harden might go back to Houston after this year. I don't know how true that is, but like if that were to happen, that would definitely be a blow to their title chances. And then, like you mentioned, they do have some nice rotational players. I mean, Tobias Harris is solid.
They're deep. They're deep.
But like I just don't like they're to me like you said they're always like a top 3, top 4 team in the East, but they just never. It seems like they're like a second round team at best every year. And it just feels like they run into like a Milwaukee or Boston, and it's just like they can't really. They can compete with them, but they're just missing something. And I think the Boston and Milwaukee, they always seem to have like just more talent, and they just play better. I don't know what it is.
I feel like there are some cities and organizations that just have winning cultures. That they just have that it factor that even if they don't have all the talent, they're always in the contention. And I feel like there are some cities and some teams that even if they have the talent, they just don't have that it factor. And I think Philly is one of those teams that they have a ton of talent and like they have the talent to win it, but I don't think they will.
You know what? And I will go with their coach is Doc Rivers. Great coach, by the way. 2008 Celtics, NBA champs. But it's awfully similar to when he was coaching the Clippers as well. The Lob City Clippers teams.
Fantastic team.
Fantastic team.
Never did anything.
CP3, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and then you had the best 6 man coming off the bench. You had Caron Butler. You had a team just absolutely loaded to the gills, and they couldn't win anything. So I think it's similar to
Is it Doc?
Philadelphia.
Are we saying it's Doc?
I'm not saying it.
You disrespecting Doc like that?
Listen, I think the Sixers. I think their best chance to win was last year and the year before.
Yeah.
I mean, the year. I mean, they should not have lost the Hawks. I'm sorry.
The Kawhi shot year too.
Yeah.
If Kawhi doesn't hit that shot,
that is true.
To win the
But like,
they went on to win the
what
championship.
really killed them.
they could have beat the Warriors that year with all the injuries.
Yeah.
I think what really killed him was the whole Ben Simmons thing against the Hawks because he just. We know the whole story, but like that really killed him. And then James Harden, he's been good, but like I don't know. It's one of those things. It's just a lot of like Embiid, you have to go off and if you want to win. So it's I don't know. I think those are their 2 best years, and I don't think they're beating Milwaukee. I don't think they're beating the Boston Celtics.
I don't even think they get past the Nets.
The Nets either. I think
Cleveland. I don't think.
I was gonna say Cleveland. I think they'd struggle against all those teams, and not to say they couldn't beat them. They could, but it's just I don't know. I think their title window, I think, is starting to close. I think they'll be a playoff team as long as Embiid's healthy, in his prime. But like I don't know.
I think
hard.
you're good.
It's hard to think a team is going to win the playoffs if their star player goes down, they have no chance.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean,
like there are some of these teams, especially in the East, that are deep. Boston's deep. We know that. Tatum goes down for a couple months, Jaylen Brown's going to hold it down.
Oh, of course.
Even Cleveland,
Cleveland's really deep.
Cleveland's my dark horse to come out of the East.
Nice,
If Mitchell goes down, you still have Garland, you got Mobley, you got Allen. They'll hold it down. They're going to suffer a little bit. But
with Cedi Osman, too.
Cedi!
Yeah.
Just wait until Ricky Rubio comes back.
Dude, yeah, they have Ricky. They do. He's been
back.
hurt. Yeah, he hasn't played.
He played really well last year until he got hurt.
He did, yeah. And then
but that's because Sexton was out, too. So he had all that playing time.
But I mean, he still played well, though.
Yeah, good play. Good
but no, you mentioned dark horse. So as far as that's concerned, the NBA this year, I think it's kind of wide open, especially in the West, because everyone. The Warriors, they're gonna. The dynasty has been extended because Jordan Poole has broken out as a star. I was like, pump the brakes a bit.
Wiseman's in the G League.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, Wiseman has been playing better though. But
he has since he's come back. Yeah.
But I mean, LaMelo Ball or James Wiseman. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
But my point is the Warriors. I think they're not dead yet, but like. It's clear that if Steph Curry is not there. Listen, if Steph Curry is out for any extended period of time,
Which he is right now.
Well, he is. But like, if he's not healthy for the playoffs, they're not winning the championship. There's no shot.
I do want to add too. I was watching the Warriors last night. They won the game against Portland.
Yeah, Portland.
But their defense too is just not good.
They're just no. And the thing that's really killed them was last year. Like, okay, so Jonathan Kuminga, he showed flashes. Obviously Jordan Poole like took a big step last year.
Can I add something real quick?
Okay.
Losing Gary Payton and Damian Lee, those secondary scorers kills you.
Otto Porter.
Otto Porter.
Yeah.
too.
No, that's depth. That is depth. But like Wiggins too, found his niche in Golden State last year.
And he's out. He's been out for a couple weeks.
He has too. And like when you take all those things into factor, Jordan Poole up until recently was kind of struggling. Wiseman was in the G League at one point. Draymond Green's obviously not the same player. Klay Thompson's not the same player too. Steph Curry was doing Steph Curry things. Like it's just they've just regressed in some areas. And would I be surprised if they won a championship this year? No, but I think
if they won this year, I'd be.
I would not.
I want to add to that though. The West is not as good as it usually is.
That's what I'm saying. I would be
because if Curry and Wiggins are healthy, I think they can make the finals. I just don't know if they can beat the team out of the East this year.
I just can't. I can't take Memphis seriously. I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, they're real.
No, they're a good team, but like they do a lot of talking, and their play doesn't back it up. I'm sorry.
They're young.
They are young, but like I'm sorry. You had a chance to really put your foot in Golden State's on Christmas, and they got killed without Curry. I know it's the regular season, but like seriously.
If Ja doesn't get injured last year, they beat Golden State in that series.
I believe that too. I do, but like I don't know.
I think Memphis is real. Hopefully, we'll talk about this later. I want to get some trade talk later, and so this is a sneak peek to that. But I am leaning more to the side that Golden State should blow it up.
Oh man.
I think I'd wait one more year.
Yeah, I'd give another year.
I do want to go with Memphis though, real quick. Like depth wise, I feel like
they're good. They're definitely good.
With how the Suns, I think their window is closed. I don't think the Nuggets have as much depth as Memphis.
No.
I think Memphis still might be the favorite to come out of the West.
No, that's fair. I just think Denver. You mentioned Michael Porter Jr. Still come. Him.
He looked good. He's been looking good.
Yeah, him and Jamal Murray. They're like come off injury, so it's kind of like I don't think they're gonna win it this year. I do think they could make a run, but I mean
they're hot right now.
No, they are. But listen, no Memphis. Like I think they can go to the finals, but like I don't know. They just do a lot of talking. I just see guys like, and listen, you want to be confident. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's a fine line between being confident and just being way too confident. And I think Memphis sometimes some of their players
kind of how Golden State was though in 13-14.
No, it is.
They got beat by the Clippers in the first round.
No, it is. I don't know. We'll see, man. Like,
there's this really really interesting shift happening in the NBA right now where. A lot of these established older teams are kind of maybe on the verge of falling off, and these younger teams are rising up. So you have your Golden State Warriors that are a little bit injury ridden. They're trying to transition, but you have these teams like Memphis out west,
Cleveland.
They're a nice young team, or New Orleans.
We didn't even talk about the Pelicans.
Pelicans.
I think. This year is a transitional year where all these new teams are legitimate contenders, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these young teams won it this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis got to the finals, if New Orleans got to the finals, if Cleveland got to the finals, and if any of them won.
No,
to Gabe's point too. I just want to go off what he said earlier about how this year's special. Think about this. From 2000, since LeBron went to the Heat, after he choked against Jason Terry, that's a whole nother story. But from 2012 all the way up until KD leaves the Warriors, you kind of knew that it was going to be Warriors and Cavs every year. You kind of knew that the Heat and Spurs were going to be in it every year. This year, that's not the case. You don't know who's going to be in the finals.
No, that's true.
Yeah. That's what's.
And going back to what I put about Memphis, I do think they can make a run. My major concern, besides all of what I mentioned before, is John Morant's health. Now, he's been pretty healthy this year so far, but like, we've seen the past few years, he's missed extended periods of time. And like, listen, he's a fun guy to watch, but I'm just saying.
Most exciting player to watch in the NBA.
No, he is. I mean, he's definitely up there. But like, my thing is that's just something to keep an eye on, because once he goes out, like not that they can not make a little bit of a run, but like they're not the same team. They're not. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. I'm just waiting. I'm not waiting. That's like a cruel thing to say. I want John Morant to stay healthy because, like I said, him and Zion's healthy too for the Pelicans. My gosh, but like
he dropped some weight too. I think he's gonna
that helps.
Stay healthy now.
And he hasn't really had any issues with injuries this year so far. So knock on wood. But like they're fun to watch, man. But like it's just one of those things. Like, I really hope those guys do not get hurt before the playoffs because that would really suck.
Who's your so Wednesday night, Friday night, there's 10, 11 games on. Who is the one player that if they're playing, you're tuning in and you're watching them play?
Oh, that's a tough question. So, I mean...
Like, you got League Pass set up
Pass.
on your TV.
The Hornets are a fun League Pass to watch. The Charlotte Hornets, they are. But I would probably say...
you get to listen to their announcer, too.
Oh.
That's the best.
Hum-diddly-doo!
Harry Rozier, how do you do?
I've watched too many Hornets videos. But what I was saying, as far as someone to watch, that's kind of tough. I mean, when Steph Curry's like hot from three, I mean, that's really fun to watch. Lob City back in the day, that was really fun to watch. I know I'm going way back, but like,
ain't no Lob City today. Ain't no Lob City.
No, it's I don't know what you call it, but it's not Lob City anymore. But I mean, man, it's tough. Luka's pretty fun. I have to go with John Morant, honestly. Jaw, yeah.
Here are my top 3 people. If they're playing, I'm watching. In no particular order. If LaMelo Ball's playing, I'm watching.
Yeah.
He's passing, he's just fun to watch. If Luka Doncic is playing, I'm watching because you never know when he's going to go off. And if SGA is playing, I'm watching
Gilgeous, okay.
If he's playing, I'm watching him.
They need him to. We talked about pieces with Luka.
Yeah.
I mean, OKC can have pieces, but they're just so young.
They got the draft capital.
Oh my gosh!
Watch out for OKC in the next 5 years.
No, listen.
We had someone on our podcast.
Next 3
Dante
years.
Washington was saying
next
that.
2 years. Watch out for OKC next year.
Well, Chet's gonna be back next year too.
They got like 5, 6, 7 draft picks next year.
Yeah. No, they're gonna have a lot of first round picks. It's ridiculous. But like, if they play their cards right, they can be good again. But we'll see. That's how they're gonna have to like succeed the Thunder. Like unless if they can get stars to commit long term, which is very unlikely because it's Oklahoma City. No disrespect, but like they're gonna have to build to the draft. Teams like them and the Kings because it's not really those aren't really destinations that the star players want to really go to. So
small market teams. Well, OKC. I mean, I think next year they have like 5 first round picks. They have the draft capital to get any superstar they want.
They do.
They got all those picks from the Clippers too.
They make one move to get that guy. They can be contenders next year.
Oh no, for sure. The only thing is, like, does that guy want to come to Oklahoma City?
Well, if it's a trade, he may not have a choice.
Wow.
Unless, no trade clauses.
If you're going to do that, you at least have multiple years left on the contract. You don't want to do a one-and-done thing. That'd be pretty stupid. But,
unless you're Toronto, you get a ring out of it.
Well, if you get a ring out of it, and you know beforehand, it's hard to predict, though. But if you do, you do that.
I will say this, if that Warriors team was healthy, I think they win that. The Warriors.
What year?
If they were healthy, they beat the Raptors.
Listen, when Kevin Durant came back, they had Toronto on the ropes, and then he got hurt, and then Clay got hurt. That was a wrap.
History. It's all right. It's all history. Yeah. At the end of the day, Toronto Raptors are the champions.
No, listen.
I do want to say my favorite teams watching League Pass.
Yeah, please. Who are your favorite players?
So obviously there's Luka there, but I feel like he just does it consistently, but I'd say Giannis still.
Yeah.
Giannis is just one of those guys. He just takes over the game whenever he wants. I still have to give respect to LeBron James too. He just had 47 the other night on his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to tell you my all-time favorite team to watch on NBA League Pass. This one might guys catch you off guard. So I first got into basketball in 2012, and about 2.5, 3 years down the line, I went from just a casual basketball fan to, I'd say 13, 14, I became I love NBA, everything. But 14, 15, there was one team, they had 60 wins. The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I remember
that team you had Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, DeMar Carroll, Al Horford, and Paul Millsap.
I think they had 4 or 5 guys made the All-Star team that year.
Their whole starting lineup other than DeMar Carroll made the All-Star team.
Freaking Kyle Korver made it for gosh sakes. I mean, that's how good they were.
They won 60 games, and I went to a game where they destroyed the Cavs. Shelvin Mack off the bench went
Oh,
8 of 9
Haven't heard
from
that
the
name in a
field.
long time.
And like that team was deep. It just so happens they ran into LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love.
They were playing well at the time. That's what killed them.
But I just remember being, 14, 15 years old, tuning into a Hawks game, listening to, Dominique Wilkins on color commentary.
Dominique.
I mean, he knows so much about the game. Their commentators are good. And at the time, too, the Hawks had a really nice court, in my opinion. It was when they still had the red, white, and
was
blue.
Didn't it the Pac-Man or no?
No, yeah, it was
that-
just like
okay.
I just like their court for some reason, but it was just like visually appealing. The team was good, won 60 games. They were exciting to watch because all 5 guys were legit players, like you said, 4 All-Stars. So all-time team, I'd go with that 14-15 Hawks team. I know that's
You
like
still watching today?
today.
If the Hawks are playing, you tuning in?
No,
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
I'm at.
they're weird.
not anymore.
They're one.
Trey
they're-
Young's exciting to watch.
They are. There are
but-
certain teams that if they're playing, I just don't want to watch them.
Yeah, I mean the Hawks. No, they're good like when they're right, but they've just never really been interesting to watch me.
Whenever they replaced Paul Millsap with Dwight Howard, I think that's where things went downhill.
No, what really went south was once
Or
That
I
was-
for Howard.
that
what
60-win team. I think they kind of put a little bit over their heads. No disrespect, like they were
yeah.
good, but like the year after they regressed big time. And then you mentioned that was around the time they got Dwight Howard. And then after that it was pretty much tank time. So and they got Trey Young out of it though. But I don't know. It's just one of those things.
We're back. We took a quick little break.
I needed to pee.
Yeah, he needed to pee, guys.
Gotta
Let
let
the
him
man.
out.
We wanted to make sure he was here.
Let the man take a leak.
Let the man take a leak. We're here for our closing segment, and we may be taking a leak on some teams based on how they're
Stop it,
playing.
Tony. Stop it, Tony.
But anyways, first things first. Before we quote unquote take a leak on some teams that need to trade, let's talk about our championship favorites. We could start with Gabe since he's our guest today.
All right. This is who I think is coming out of the East. We all have, we all know the favorites, the Bucks, the Boston, some contenders like Brooklyn. Could throw Philly in there. Hear me, people. 2023, Cleveland Cavaliers are going to the finals coming out of the East.
I like that pick.
I like it. Donovan Mitchell, my boy Jetty.
They got
Ricky
the
Rubio
pieces.
coming back soon.
Chetty Osman, MVP. He's coming for that ring.
You got Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and
Other-
Darius Garland was good last year too. I mean, and he was good when Sexton was there as well. I mean, but Darius Garland's really popping off.
Who do you have in the West though?
In the West, listen, I think these young teams are coming up. I think the young team's coming out. I think it's going to be Memphis or New Orleans. Right, you got Ja versus Zion. And I think Zion Williamson is going to bring the New Orleans Pelicans to the finals.
Okay, I like that pick. I do. Shoot. No, I think that's not entirely out of plausibility, especially if they get Brandon Ingram back healthy and playing well too. So
Yeah. Do you want me to go next?
There you go.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna go to the East first. Cleveland. I definitely think that they have a chance. They're my favorite team. They've been since they drafted Kyrie Irving. And with that being said, though, I'm gonna be. I want to be biased and say them, which I think they can. But I think this year, just because they have Giannis, I still cannot count out the Bucks. I think that their window with like Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, they still have like 2 or 3 years. I think this year, Giannis wills that team back to the finals. There's talk about Doncic, Jokic, Embiid. Giannis is going to remind people who he is. I think it's going to be the Bucks, and I think it's going to come down to the Grizzlies and the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets, when Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are healthy, and then you have Nikola Jokic, who's a walking triple-double.
Yep.
Obviously, they're up there. But I think Memphis, as long as they're healthy, I think Memphis with Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, even Steven Adams is having a solid year. John Morant, obviously, exciting player to watch. Can literally jump over people to dunk on people. I'm just going to say Memphis and Milwaukee, and I think Milwaukee takes it home this year.
fair enough. Who do you have in the West?
Memphis.
Memphis. Oh, and I do want to
Sorry.
add too. By me not mentioning Boston doesn't mean I don't think they have a chance.
Oh
too.
no, for sure.
Because
They got a
Jason
two-headed
Brown,
monster.
Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown,
Both under 25.
and Robert Williams is back now. Yeah, I think they have a chance too. But I just think Milwaukee with Giannis. I think the Celtics though they should be set for the next 2 to 3 years. Honestly.
Shoot, I think we're set for the next 5 to 7.
Yeah.
The two guys.
Both those guys are under 25.
That's what I'm saying. But no,
They still
it's,
have good pieces too. Derek
Oh,
White and Elko
for
Brogdon
sure.
too.
They're
That
deep. They're
team's
deep. They're
stacked.
deep at guard too, especially. But listen, I'll say this. So I'm either gonna go with I think either Milwaukee or Boston's gonna come out of the East this year. It's, like Tony said, no disrespect to anyone else though, but I think those are two of the clear-cut best teams in the East right now. And right now, I pick the Celtics to represent the East. Back-to-back appearances. I'm actually picking them to win all this year. The Celtics. As far as the West goes, I've been struggling with this. I've been saying Memphis, but let's see. I'm gonna rule Golden State still. I know it's crazy. Listen. Hear me out. So, like we've been saying, the West is wide open.
I'm not a believer.
And no, you don't have to be.
Not
This
a
is
believer.
just my opinion. But like my thing is, the West is still wide open. Memphis, I'm still like the verdict's still out on them. This is really the first year the Pelicans are really like seen as legit contenders since like Chris Paul's been there. The Suns, they're dealing with a lot of injuries and turmoil with their owner, all that BS. The Nuggets, I just don't think. I think Jokic is really the only threat that to really worry about. I'm not really sold on Jamal Murray or Michael Porter. I mean, that's 5 teams right there. And the Clippers, the health, that's always the issue with the Clippers. That is a team that I did forget to mention. I think the Clippers,
They have a chance.
If
As
they-
long as they're healthy.
if they can stay healthy, and if Kawhi continues to get better and Paul George stays healthy, that's another team you have to don't disrespect either because they can make a run too. I mean, they were in the conference finals a couple of years ago, so I just want to throw that out there too. I don't think they're going to win it though, but I'm going to say Golden State right now until they get eliminated in the playoffs or playing tournament. I'm riding with Golden State because I do think they still have a 10-game win streak in them. I mean, you're going to get Curry back. They're not going to play this bad all year long, I don't think. It's just one of those things. Go off to a bit of a rocky start, but I think they have been playing a little bit better of recent, and I think with Curry back, they'll get better, and they're going to move up the standings. So I'm going to go with Golden State and Boston in a rematch, but I'm going to take Boston this year because I think Boston's better.
Vicha Zubac is underrated for the Clippers. We could go on to our next one.
Unless they play small ball. They don't even play him. He plays 15 a night. All right. So I want to talk really quickly. We'll go super fast to this. The trade season is upon us. December 15th has passed. Looking forward to February. And I'm going to list a couple teams that are kind of in that middle ground. They can either blow it up, tank, reset, or they can make that trade to get up, either solidify themselves as contender or get up into that position. And so I'm going to list them off, and you say, should they blow it up or should they trade to get into contention?
Okay.
I already know your opinion on this, but I'm going to start with the Warriors.
You have to stick it out for more years.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I agree with him before you go.
You got contracts coming up in both Draymond and Clay. You just paid Wiggins. You just paid Poole. Your young guys, they're looking okay, but they're not looking great. Kuminga's doing all right. Wiseman's playing a little bit better. Poole is like, when he's starting, he's good. When he's not starting, he's kind of rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Steph has this injury. Let's see how they play without Steph. I think that's the determining factor. But Draymond's punching people. Clay is coming off of major injuries. You're at a point now where you can sell your assets high, recoup some draft capital, maybe a couple stars, and reset, or you stay where you're at.
Well, see, here's the thing about that. They're both on expiring contracts, so the value you're seeking isn't going to be what you're going to get in return, especially Draymond Green. I mean, he's fallen off dramatically. I mean, even going back to 2020, like, he's just not the same player. And Klay Thompson, he still offers you scoring, but defensively, he's not really, the same player.
I mean, he's coming off 2 major injuries.
But
Right?
no,
It's not his
but-
fault.
He was one of the best two-way players, though.
But when he was
before
healthy,
that.
but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, when you're like in your mid-30s,
Yeah.
it's like 33, 34 now. I don't know if he's that old.
He's not going to be. It's going
but
to be
he's
like
30
LeBron, where
he's at least 32 years
Yeah.
old, and Draymond's like 30. Same kind of age range. Draymond's already dropped off. He's not the same defensively. Offensively, he's like not even like worth. He's not even like good at all. So I don't know how much value you're going to get back for Draymond. Maybe a little bit of Clay, maybe, just because of the scoring perspective. You can still shoot it. That's not an issue. But I don't know. I just think you have to ride it out one more year. And I think you have to let – maybe you can sign Clay. I don't know. I'd let Draymond walk because his best days are behind him. That's my opinion.
So you would let Draymond walk. Do you think that they're going to – because, listen, Clay he's one of the best shooters of all time.
No, for sure.
He's got some unfortunate injuries. But do you think they're going to pay him what he wants to stay for? You got an aging guy coming off of major injuries. Even if he signs a 2-year, 3-year deal, you're going to give that cap to him and not be able to sign Kuminga or sign Wiseman or possibly get someone in free agency.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it's 50-50. I think you have to look at it from a perspective of Warrior for life, where you think about business trying to improve your team overall. And I think the Warriors. I think they want to improve their team. I think they'd love to have Klay Thompson. I don't think that's an issue, but like I've been saying, he's just not the same player. The defense isn't like what it used to be. Offense is still there though, but I don't know. They're older. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed him, but I think he's not going to. I don't think he's going to resign.
I think if they go under 500 while Curry is injured, management needs to look at their team and blow it up.
No,
They've been straddling the vets and young guys doing this double thing. If they're under 500 with Curry out, I think they need to lean into that rebuild.
I do have one rebuttal to that though. Not too long ago, the Celtics, when they kept going back and forth with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown getting hurt, they went under 500 and they ended up making up that run.
The thing is, they're both under 25, and they have contracts a little bit longer.
Yeah, you have a point, but at the same time. Like Justin said, there's expiring contracts. They're not as high value. I think you ride out this year. I think you wait until next year to make that decision. Just because with the West right now, that team still has a chance to make the finals if Curry's back. And even if Curry, if you get Curry and Wiggins back, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they could beat a team like the Nuggets or the Grizzlies. Because they still have Steph Curry in his prime right now. He's still, in my opinion,
no, he can still play.
He still is one of the best players in the league.
I will say this though, I do agree with your one point about committing to one or the other. I do think it's time enough with trying to win in the future and win now. I think they need to pick one. I think their best bet after this year is to win in the future. I think they should start the rebuilding process. But it's just one of those things they're very weird. Like last year after they won the championship, it was like, oh well, they're set up well for the future, and then you see their young guys, they're not really producing at the rate they were last year. So that is a bit concerning, but at the same time they're also still young, so there's still time for them to develop into better players. But we'll see. We'll see where they go after this year. It'll be
so you say finish the year and then maybe rebuild after.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get through these other ones really quick.
Okay.
Bulls. Do they blow it up or do they hold out?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'd hold out because DeMar DeRozan's playing good basketball right now. Vucevic and Levine have seen better days, but I still think that the team has a good amount of depth. They're not talked about at all. I think if DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine can catch heat in playoff time, I think that they can make some noise. I obviously don't think that they're the same caliber as a Nets. I think they're where the Sixers are, sadly, maybe just a slightly less version of the Sixers. I'd hold it out though. I don't think that your players are still in their prime with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I think it would just be you'd be jumping the gun too soon. I think.
See, I kind of lean towards more blow it up, and the reason I say is because they're clearly not they're not one of the 5 best teams in the Eastern Conference. I just think what's your ceiling with the Bulls? Because at the same time they just blew it up a couple years ago, so you'd be blowing it up again. So by that logic, I think you have to stay with the team as it is now. But at the same time, I can make the argument that they should blow it up because, we saw what they were last year when everyone was there. They're a first-round team at best. Maybe a second-round team if they catch the right opponent. But I just don't think their ceiling is kind of like the Orlando Magic with Vucevic, low-end ceiling. They might be a 7th or 8th seed every year, but they're not going to go very far.
Yep.
So
the Bulls, their glue is Lonzo Ball. As long as Lonzo is out, they're not doing anything. They're not a championship team. They need to blow it up, recoup. Yeah. All right. Washington, do you blow it up or do you try to trade for another piece? You got Porzingis, you got Beal, but you're kind of up and down.
See, you just signed Beal to a contract, but I would blow it up. They're not one of those teams. They're stuck in that they're not good enough to be awful, but they're not good enough to be a top 5 team. They're like in that 8 to 9, 10 range. So
in 3 years, that Beal contract is going to be one of the worst in the NBA.
Yeah, it's not.
I think you have to blow it up. I think you trade some pieces away to free up some cap room for the off season. Because you saw, I think you keep Kuzma. Well, you could all.
He's on it. He's on it. He has a player option. He might not stay.
That's the thing. Like I think you talk to Kuzma. I think you keep Porzingis and you keep Beal, but I think you talk to Kuzma. And when I mean half blow it up, you could trade Kuzma and try to go into the free agency because the team still has a solid core with young players with Rui Hachimura, Denny Advia, and Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. That's a solid core right there. But that's not a core that's going to win anything. I think you talk to Kuzma, see what you can do. Because here's the thing, if it's right now, they're not going to win next year. No. So, yeah, you trade some assets, but you don't blow it sky high,
All right, you got the Knicks. You have Randall, you have Brunson, you got Quickly, you got...
RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett. You got a couple nice young pieces. Mitch Robinson. You got some young pieces. You don't have... you have too many young pieces that not all of them are getting playing time. You got Obi Toppin. You got Grimes. Do you trade some of those young pieces to try to get a star, or do you just?
I don't know if you can get a star out of those players though, but I will say I think
they almost got Mitchell.
We'll see about that.
Almost, it's not enough though.
See, the Knicks almost always get a lot of players, but they have always they're trying to get Kevin Durant. That's another story. But I think the Knicks
tank for Zion too.
Yeah, I do think the Knicks though. I think they should keep it as is. And just see where the offseason lands on them. If they're, I think they'll be a playoff team this year, but we'll see. They're kind of tough to kind of gauge because after they made the playoffs a couple years ago, they have a great future, and then they kind of regressed last year badly. Yeah. But it's just one of those things. I think moving off a couple of their young pieces wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing, but I think free agency, we'll see if they can strike gold this next year.
Yeah.
For me, you keep it as is, just because we already mentioned their core.
Yeah.
That's a solid core, and these players we're mentioning, I don't think really any of them are 30 years old.
No,
Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle's getting to 30, close, but he was a one and done at Kentucky. So I mean, we're talking about Mitchell Robinson. Didn't play in college. He went to Western. He was going to go to Western Kentucky, decommitted. Was going to go to LSU, and then decommitted from there. So just did 1 year. I mean, we're all talking their whole team's pretty young still. Keep it as is. I mean, if a team like Philadelphia or Chicago decides to blow it up, they could fill that void right there. Keep it as is, see how you do next year, and even see how you do this year. They probably will make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Maybe they could string something together.
I think the Knicks, you take some of your young pieces, take a couple of picks, and try to get a star.
No, I agree with that.
All right, Utah, they started off hot. They kind of cooled down.
Blow it up.
I feel like that's an easy one.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like they already did blow it up.
They kind of did, but they have a lot of veterans on that team, so I think a lot of their veterans.
Marketing. Do you keep marketing?
Yeah.
This is the highest his value has ever been. Do you keep him or do you sell him?
Oh, you have to sell because he's another one of those guys. He has a long injury history. I think you have to. A lot of their veterans are playing well. I just think you have to embrace the youth movement because those guys, they're not going to help you win a championship 3 years from now. They're all going to be gone most likely. So I think you have to sell.
Here's my thing with my boy Laurie though. I mean, you got put on this Cavs team with Kevin Love, Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. Before he was with the Bulls, I mean, he was in the Jimmy Butler trade. But here's the thing with Markkanen, he needed to change the scenery, and he got it, and now he's playing.
All-star Markkanen.
I do understand that, though, but he's a little bit older, and I just think the Jazz, I think they're trying to rebuild, that's my guess.
He's not too old, though.
He's 25, 26.
He was a one-and-done for Arizona.
Wait, he's only 25?
Yeah, he was drafted in 2017. So he's like Lonzo Ball age.
Well, okay, I'd maybe keep him though, but guys like Mike Conley, I think I'd get rid of those guys.
You move on from Conley, you move on from Kelly Olynyk. Clarkson too is a very valuable scorer.
He's a very good player.
Dude, man's almost 30, dude.
That's what
he was on the Lakers.
You could get a lot out, and I saw him drop 37 for the Cavs one night against the Brooklyn Nets.
He was a Cav too.
Yeah, he was good for the Cavs.
All right, so we're saying Utah blow it up.
Yeah,
Utah blow
all right,
let's
go through these last ones really quick. Lakers
blow it up. Come on, they if any team in the NBA, they have one of the most bleak futures. No first rounder until 2027.
Okay.
You have to.
You need to blow it up. You need to blow it up.
How far do you blow up? Do you get rid of James and Ayton? Or not Ayton, Davis.
we'll see. Anthony Davis's value was no higher than it was this year, and then he got hurt. But I think someone would be dumb enough to still take Anthony Davis. I do believe that. And LeBron, I think you keep LeBron. I think he'll stay because like his
They just signed him to an extension.
yeah, his whole Hollywood activities besides basketball. I think that, but I think too, like once Bronny makes the NBA, I think he'll leave the Lakers. He'll go to whoever team Bronny ends up on though. But like, yeah, I think outside of LeBron, you have to blow the team up.
Here's the thing: you have to blow it up, but the issue you have is who's gonna want the contract of Russell Westbrook.
That is true.
$44 million a year or
Is it
$47 million.
expiring? Or does
I think
it have
it's
2 years
expiring.
left?
It's expiring, but still, like,
Well, no. Here's
you
the
want to
thing.
try to get
You
something out of him. He's still a
He's-
solid player.
But no one's gonna take the $44 million though. That's the issue.
That's the
Just
thing.
be a 6-man.
Send him to Charlotte.
Send him, yeah.
Charlotte.
Trade him to Charlotte for,
LaMelo Ball.
yeah.
No, stop that. All right, Lakers, you blow it up. Get
Yeah.
rid of them. Toronto.
Ooh, that's a good one. They're kind of weird. I think it's one of those years. I think you have to keep the team as is. They're still kind of young.
Yeah, Siakam, he was in the 2016 draft, 27th overall. I wrote it down. I have it on paper. Pascal Siakam was a steal in that draft, and I think with Siakam, Fred VanVleet, I mean, those are two underdogs, one from Wichita State, one from New Mexico State, not Power 5 schools. You got to keep those two together, in my opinion.
See, I might get rid of MV because he's a little bit older though. He's like in his
He's up
30s.
for a contract.
But that's the
contract.
issue. But I think Toronto's weird. I think if they had a superstar, which they did a few years ago, if they had a superstar, I think they'd be right in the contention mix. I really do. But they have a lot of really good players. They just don't have that great player.
One of the last teams in half-court offense.
I do want to say one thing about the Raptors, though, is with Fred VanVleet, yeah, he's getting older, but case in point, in that same system with Nick Nurse, Kyle Lowry was productive for
No,
him
he
up
was.
until he was 36.
OG's going to need a contract also. So you're going to
Mhm.
pay all those guys to stay
Yeah.
as a 500 team?
It's gonna be a tough. It's
It's a toss-up for me, but I think you ride it out, see how it is, because you got your championship a couple of years ago. See what you could do with this core. See if you could,
Well,
you know,
a big part of that core, and Kawhi is gone.
yeah.
Uh,
But they
And
were-
you need a playmaker.
But
Toronto
but,
needs a
But I
playmaker.
will say this: teams thought that when Kawhi left, that they were just going to go back to where they were, and
Yeah.
they ended up not.
no, I'm saying
Toronto's one of those teams. No matter what, they're always there.
no, they are.
They
All
used
right.
to not be like that.
So you guys are saying Toronto, hold it out.
I'd
Yeah,
hold it
I
out.
well, yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
All right. Do you guys think they should bring a package like a couple picks and Van Vliet and try to get?
Yeah, I think
playmaker?
they have the capital and pull for trying to do things like
Okay.
that. But yeah,
You heard it, Toronto. Get a playmaker. Miami.
I think you have to keep it as is. I mean, they did make the conference finals last year, so I mean, they pretty much brought the same team back. That's a team we really haven't talked about at all today. But I mean, they're a good team. I just think they're another team. They're like missing like one more player. They have a lot of really good players, but I don't think Jimmy Butler's teetering on great, and I think Bam Adebayo.
His injury history is
It's
not
rough. But like Jimmy Butler is like almost great, but he's just not quite there yet. And if he's your best player, you're trying to win a championship. I'm not sure if that's really the ideal. So I think, out of free agency, I think they're gonna have to be players and sign like a superstar. If they can do that, I think they can win a championship. But right now, I think you just have to hold as is.
Yeah, I mean, Bam's still in his prime too.
He's not old either. He's still
And
young.
you still have Tyler here. I think where it's going to get into a problem is when you start dealing with contracts down the line.
Well, Jimmy Butler's gonna be the biggest because he's in his 30s now.
Mhm.
So that's gonna be the biggest issue.
Whenever his contract's up, then talk
and
about
then
it.
Kyle Lowry too. He's kind of falling off now.
Yeah.
I think this Miami team is similar to Philly, where this team will not ever win a championship.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
And
So
I will say
I
about
s-
Kyle Lowry too, just to add, people forget that like when he was with the Raptors, he was at an age where he should have been out of his prime, but he wasn't.
He played well.
Because he played for the Rockets for his first how many years?
No, he did.
People forget that he played for the Rockets.
He did.
All right, so you guys are saying hold out. I'm telling them blow it up. Last one of the day, Minnesota. Do you get rid of Cat to recoup all that equity you gave up for Gobert? Do you do something with D'Angelo and try to upgrade? What are you doing if you're Minnesota?
Man, that's another tough situation. I just Cat is also another guy who has a bad injury history, but at the same time he's right. He's ridiculous to watch, but I don't know, man. That's tough. The Gobert thing, it really hasn't worked out so far. And then, like you mentioned, they're dealing with injuries. Cat's missed a lot of time, Anthony Edwards, he's been good, but I don't think he hasn't really taken a massive step forward. And D'Angelo Russell, he kind of is what he is at this point. I think he's kind of maxed out as far as potential. He's a good player, but he's anything more than that. So I think you should move D'Angelo Russell. I don't think you'll be able to move Gobert. But if you want to go that route and build around Anthony Edwards, and get rid of Cat, I don't know if I'd do that. Cat's kind of young still, and it's tough. What do you think?
See, my thing is, with him being hurt, he doesn't have as much value. But I just wanted to talk about Minnesota, just how unlucky they've been with, as soon as, Karl Anthony Towns, he's hurt right now. They've had a ton of injuries. D'Angelo Russell's been up and down with those. Same with Rudy Gobert. And plus, Rudy Gobert, this is not the same Rudy Gobert we saw in Utah right now.
No,
he's not there yet. And my thing is, I don't think you blow it up, but I did want to talk about them, that this is a team that you have, Jaden McDaniels has been stepping it up lately, and you still have Anthony Edwards, and you have all these pieces, but they've just been riddled with injuries. And I say keep the team as is, but at the same time, there's some concern in Minnesota right now, because right now there's just something not clicking. They're 16-20. This team was expected to be a top 5 team in the West at least, especially knowing that they did better last year without Rudy Gobert. So right now that trade has not looked like it was working out a lot, but we just have to see how they do in the long run until Rudy Gobert adjusts. The problem with Rudy Gobert is, offensively, he's not really skilled. He's more of just a defensive guy, great around the rim and stuff, but he's not going to change up your offense. So I guess we just got to see how things go with Minnesota.
Here's the thing about Minnesota, just before we wrap up, though, real quick. So it's just one of those things. The reason I say, hold out is because, the West, we've been saying, is wide open. And if you have a team like the Warriors that's going to be in transition potentially next year, and then you don't know about anyone else, the Clippers, their whole situation, there's a path if guys develop like they're supposed to, and they maybe get a few more players, they could make a run in the next 2 years.
And not this year, in a couple years down the line. Because here's my thing: D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards, and Jaden McDaniels too. Great season so far. If you keep those players together, that's a solid 5 right there.
That's the thing about sports, man. Your window, it's more so in the NFL than any other sport. Your window can open real quick if you make the right moves, and if you make the wrong moves, your window can shut just like that too. So. And
there's some teams that hold out. I'm going to bring up baseball, that hold out for too long. One team, for hockey, the Chicago Blackhawks waited too long. Now they have no draft picks, and they'll probably be in the rebuild for the next 4 or 5 years after Patrick Kane leaves.
Have to go through pretty soon.
Don't even bring that up. Do not bring that up ever again. I don't even think about that. And then you also, no, I agree. I just don't want to talk about it yet.
No, that's fair.
Chris Davis and Mark Trumbo signed those contracts in Baltimore. They wanted that 1 more year, and then they ended up going into a rebuild, and they're still to this day, even though they're close to the playoffs, still struggling to get back to where they were.
So if you're Minnesota, if the Warriors call you up and say, "Hey, we'll trade you Thompson, Kuminga, Wiseman, and 2 first-rounders for Cat," do you do it?
That's interesting.
2 first-rounders. That's a good trade, actually.
Yeah, I think I'd do that.
Oh, that's tough to say. I think
I'd pull the plug. I really would.
Yeah, that's a good trade. And the thing is, will the Warriors offer something like that?
I don't know. That'd be so ironic.
That'd be a crazy trade.
I don't want to take
because the Timberwolves have made trades before. Yeah. They've made trades to get Jimmy Butler. Yeah. They've made trades to move.
They got new management now, or new owners now. So
that's true. Just a side note: how ironic would that be if they because Klay Thompson 8 years ago, the Kevin Love stuff. He was rumored to be in a package for Kevin Love because they were trying to get Kevin Love to the Warriors. So that'd be funny if another big man, Cat, the franchise cornerstone for Klay. I think that'd be funny if that happened. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and that Timberwolves team, it was really just Kevin Love averaged 26 and 13. The Warriors, if they would have pulled that trigger to get Kevin Love for Klay Thompson, they would have been considered the winners of that because there people would be like, oh, you traded a shooter in Klay Thompson who had a great 13-14, but he's a second option to Steph. You get him for an elite power forward in Kevin Love that's 26 and 13.
Well,
different times then, man.
No, it definitely is. Mm-hmm. But I think that's pretty much. Unless you have anything else to add, I think it's pretty much all for our episode today. It was quite the episode.
You want me to do the plug now?
Yeah, you can do the plug.
You can find us anywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you'd like to watch our podcasts. Thank you for joining us. If you want to re-listen, you can rewatch them on any of the plugs I've provided. Thank you, Gabe, again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Better yet, thank you for letting us use 631.
Of course.
631.
61 studios.
You can come on more on the show if you want to.
Yeah, for
definitely have to schedule having more appearances. Maybe like March Madness. You watch March Madness?
I will if you guys want to talk about it.
Shoot, yeah, maybe we can do something then.
Even when we get the studio back, when Marshall decides to come back from North Carolina, we could.
What you doing?
Yeah, what's he doing?
Yeah, I would say even the NBA playoffs. We can talk about that. Have an episode on that though.
Do a whole episode about the Mets.
Yeah. When the Mets win the World Series, well, come on.
Yeah, you can though.
Oh, we could do it. I do want to do an MLB event at Costi for
Yeah.
I want to do like an MLB preview with him, and we can have you on.
Oh, we can do that too. Shit, I forgot about that. No, but that was our episode, guys. For Antonio Rossetti, I'm Justin Stewart. We'll see you soon for another edition of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. Take care. Adios.